Hey everyone, welcome back to RetroBreak. Today, let me tell you about an incredible new indie game called Berserk Boy. The first time I saw Berserk Boy, I knew this was something I needed to review. It looked like a mashup of everything I love about games, from the fast-paced action of Mega Man or Gunvolt, to the linear level design of the best 16-bit action games, with some awesome pixel art graphics and an incredible soundtrack by Sonic composer T. Lopez. It seemed like it was made for me, but I have been burnt by some indie games trying to live up to my nostalgia in the past, so is Berserk Boy any different? Let's find out. At first, I was honestly a little worried that it wouldn't be a straightforward action game like I was hoping. It begins with some cutscene story setting up the premise for the game and the motivation of the main character. Basically, you're on a quest to find some orbs and stop an evil empire. To be honest, the story isn't why I play these kind of games, so I was hoping that it wouldn't really be a huge part of the experience. The training stage gives you a good idea of what to expect with the game, and I was quite impressed by the mechanics here too. Like Gunvolt, you don't directly attack the enemies, instead you tag them by dashing into them, and then you have the ability to use your action button to send an electric charge to damage them. You can also dash and attack from any angle, and chaining these different attack styles together can be really rewarding. Throughout the game you'll get other ways of attacking and manoeuvring too, but I'll get back to that a bit later on. Then after the training stage you arrive at the base and then you're free to explore. I was getting a little worried that this might become another convoluted indie Metroidvania game, but those fears quickly went away when I arrived at the mission control room and found a level select. I jumped into level 1 and began playing. And after grappling with the slightly awkward controls and changing them to suit my taste using the in-game configuration menu, I got into the groove and really began to enjoy the movement and the mechanics of the game. The first thing you'll notice is how fast and responsive everything is. The controls do take a little bit of getting used to. There's a regular attack, but there's also a second attack after tagging an enemy, just like in Gunvolt. And then there's the dash, of course, and chaining these things together makes for some very rewarding gameplay. There's a lot of other mechanics as well, which you can find out later on, that expand on these skill sets too. So back at the base, you're able to upgrade your abilities and add some extra health, as well as see all the people that you managed to rescue within the main stages. Sometimes there's a bunch of enemies which infiltrate the base and need taking care of. There's not really that much else to do here, but it is a cool way to break up the gameplay and make everything feel like it has a really good sense of place. The different abilities all control very differently, and each is actually really fun to use. I couldn't pick a favourite and regularly swapped between them, just for the fun of taking the enemies out in different ways. The first one you get is the electric attack, which allows you to tag the enemies, but as well as that you can also use it to hit switches and solve puzzles to get to some hidden areas. Then there's the fire ability. This one allows you to attack enemies using a fire drill attack. As well as that, you can also use the drill to go into the ground and attack enemies from below. And you can also use it Sonic Colors style as well, to go through the walls and to manoeuvre through these areas to get to the next part of the stage too. Then there's this ability here which allows you to throw these stars and attack enemies from a distance. This one also allows you to dash between these icons in the level, allowing you to clear large distances and navigate through some maze-like areas without getting hit by the spikes. Then there's a flying ability which lets you hover in the main stages, and actually transforms into a full-on shoot-'em-up in several levels too. And there's a few other ones that I don't want to spoil for you. I definitely recommend you playing the game for yourself and finding out about all of the different movements and mechanics. Each level has a selection of well thought out challenges and gameplay concepts. First, there's a selection of people to rescue, and doing so fills up this resistance meter. Sometimes a stage will have a barrier that only opens when a certain number of people have been rescued from each area. There's also several medals to collect as well, which get deposited whenever you find a checkpoint in the stage. These checkpoints also double up as teleports to allow you to return to different areas throughout the stage. Each one also has a boss fight, and unlike Mega Man and its inspirations though, these bosses aren't always at the end of the stage. Sometimes there's much more to do after defeating the boss before you reach the goal. And then at the end of each set of levels you fight the final boss and gain their ability. There's different abilities and these can actually be switched out at any point during the level, and unlike Mega Man, there's no need to worry about running out of ammunition for a specific weapon. Instead, everything is charged up with the same blue orbs, but the regular attacks are always available to use, making it really fun to switch between the different types on the fly.
See you later, kid. I'll be back.
Soaring wind!
Although you can choose to play in whatever mode you like, there's always parts in the stage which will have you use one particular skill, because of the movement option that it allows. This is the one area of the game where I felt it was a little bit cumbersome. Having to constantly switch back and forth between the different forms was a little bit awkward and interrupted the flow of the game, as you either stand still and press L or R to hope to switch to the right style, or press a button to open up a radial menu and select it from there, only to need to do exactly the same shortly after to get to a different bit to get past the next section. Sometimes in the levels there are pedestals which automatically switch you to the right gameplay style, but not always, and it's not really clear why sometimes they decided to add one, but not others, especially as most of the time it's impossible to get any further without first switching anyway. But despite these small complaints though, once you get used to the different controls, it's very fun to play and navigate the areas in all the different styles. And as I mentioned earlier, the game has an incredible soundtrack. The music is just amazing, easily some of the best music that I've heard in recent years from a video game. Just take a listen to a few of these areas now. So overall, I absolutely loved the game. As I said at the start, it is basically a mashup of all of my favourite styles of game thrown into one. There are a few little frustrations here and there, but if you can look past all of that, you're bound to have an incredible time. So definitely check out Berserk Boy, it's out right now. Thank you so much for watching. If you want more indie game reviews, then check the playlist up here, and I'll see you all again very soon. Goodbye.